What's up, super fans? It is Fit Nerd from Superheroes Ultimate. Welcome to another episode of Heroes Finest, and today we're going to be briefly discussing the events of Episode 3. I did not get a chance to film anything or break it down last week, so we're briefly going to touch up on it, and today we're going to mainly be focused on Episode 4. Now, of course, if you have not seen Episode 3 and 4 yet, this is your spoiler warning. Hey, Flash Fanatic!
Hey, Fit Nerd, how's it going?
So, we have Uncle Kingpin in the last episode. We'll briefly touch up on Episode 3.
I got so excited that the possibility of Vincent D'Onofrio to be in this show because of what just him being in the show means. Not just a character, not just Kingpin, but him possibly means that the Netflix shows are going to now be in the MCU. And that is also kind of backed by the fact that Charlie, the actor that plays Daredevil, was recently announced to take up the role of Daredevil in the MCU as well. So I know in Episode 3 we were kind of teased with a little bit of a black suit and a little bit of a laugh, and it's unmistakable. This is taking the R-rated Netflix shows and kind of pulling them into the MCU for all its fans. Or hopefully they'll maintain that kind of theme in the MCU at least.
See, so I'm like in between worlds with excitement. And I'll explain why. I am ecstatic that the fact that he might come back and reprise his role as a Kingpin. And it was literally the same week, like as you said, Kevin Feige confirmed that there is no other person that would ever come back as Daredevil except for the actor of Charlie. Now, with that being said, my mixed feelings is because of what happened with the Venom movie. With the Venom movie with Carnage, it should have been a rated R movie, but because they want Venom to be in the MCU, which is a more not all adult audience, it is actually a lot of kids and teenagers that they want to watch these movies. And with the introduction of Kingpin from the Netflix series, which is extraordinarily violent, and I mean, I loved it, like Punisher, and all these are basically like the rated R versions of the Marvel characters, and to bring him into the MCU is like, they might water him down. I mean, you gotta remember that in the series for Daredevil, the very first incident with Kingpin is him literally grabbing a guy and smashing his head repeatedly in a car door, or the fact that he killed his own father with a hammer. These things might not be Disney Plus friendly.
Well, and I agree with you on that. Like, that's definitely not something that Disney's going to put on their platform. But I do feel like they won't really do anything that violent anymore. I don't think it necessarily means that they're going to water down the character, but all that stuff was already fleshed out with the Netflix shows, and they kind of took that opportunity. I mean, even though if it wasn't thought at the time about whether or not they were going to have a streaming service or whether they're going to move those characters back into that child-friendly kind of area, they could still make him pretty violent and make the things he does pretty violent. And even with like Hawkeye and how he battles, and people are still getting shot with like arrows or being gunshots or anything like that, they still are allowed to show a little bit, I guess what you would call a soft R or something, right? Yeah. And so I don't think they're going to make him too soft, but I am definitely worried that might be a way they're looking at. So I agree with you with about mixed feelings of having Kingpin in the MCU and them kind of watering him down a little bit.
Or even, Daredevil's fight scenes were really, really pretty damn brutal, too. So
they're pretty brutal. But I'm excited that they'll be at least teasing him in there. And I know that they may keep the Kingpin for a villain to the Echo show that's supposedly down the line. So if the actor comes back, I definitely feel like he is going to be a perfect fit. And I hope that they end up teasing him a little bit more. I know that there are a couple of Easter eggs in the current episodes, like I think it's Fat Man Autobody or Automotive. There was a station where what's her name? Maya came and she saw the Ronin attack, her father's hideout. But that was a Fat Man Mechanic, and I think that's the name of the business, was one of the businesses owned by Kingpin. So there's all these little Easter eggs that are all in these episodes that point to, yes, if you know the comics, then you know who's coming down the line. And Vincent D'Onofrio, the actor, has been very vocal on Twitter about all this stuff about the show. That he's excited to watch the show. They can't wait for the show. And also, I believe a recent tweet was set up that like the fans are going to go crazy on Twitter.
There was a tweet on right before the release, actually, on November 17th. He actually just reposted the Marvel Studios trailer for Hawkeye. And he said, "This is going to be fun. I love these at Marvel," he tagged them, series. I mean, that's a pretty good Easter egg that he's going to definitely be on the show. He's already been kind of cameoed.
Yeah, possibly. There's a very good chance that that's going to be the case.
Jack, a.k.a. the Swordsman, which happens to not know Hawkeye on a personal level. They just they act like they've never met before, so I don't know if they're just playing coy with everybody around them, and maybe they have worked in the past together. But he did have Ronin's sword, and he stole it from Jack. I mean, I find it far-fetched that he like did a sleight of hand and took his sword back from Jack. I feel like Jack handed it back to him.
Well, do you think Jack is in? Do you think he is the true villain of the series, or one of the true villains of the series?
I don't think he's a true villain of the whole thing. I think it's actually Madame Mask, which is Kate's mom. In the comics, Madame Mask is a mafia like boss, and who knows? There was that one scene where she's on the phone call after the whole meeting with CB1, and Kate Bishop as partners, or not partners, as CB1 does not like to be called CB1. She was on the phone briefly saying some type of boss or something, but it almost made it seem like she was talking to the Kingpin.
I had that feeling too when I was watching it. First off, I want to mention about Jack. The Swordsman in the comics actually was one of the people who trained Clint Barton. They both
he was his mentor for a while.
He was his mentor. They used to his whole background used to be working, I believe, at like a carnival or a circus or something like that.
A circus,
yeah. And Barton's thing was throwing objects. When eventually he got into archery, that's how he had it. But the same thing goes along with Jack. Jack was the swordsman. So very much they could have worked together in the past, and they may just not be acknowledging each other. But I agree with you. I think the mom is hiding something. I personally think that she may be using Jack as a way to possibly get some upper hand or some information. I know that the whole episode kind of revolved around partners, but also talked about was about getting this watch back, the mysterious watch.
Mysterious Rolex, which a lot of people are speculating it belonged to Tony Stark.
I have a different, it's a bit of a different theory I have. Just so one of the lines that Barton had, or Hawkeye had at the end of the episode, and he was saying something like, what happens, like, they can't get this. Then he said the identity of one of my he said
is an old friend that his cover may be blown because of this watch.
I think there's a possibility that his wife is involved somehow. Because Iron Man is already, at this point, Endgame is Endgame. He's already passed. Maybe it's Nick Fury, possibly. Maybe that has to do with Nick Fury. Because we actually
that's a good point. It could actually lead to Nick Fury, which is the old friend that he's talking about,
right? And I'm trying to figure out what the other possibilities are. So one theory I was thinking of is it could be he's talking about his wife, because his wife knew a lot about that watch, and so I'm thinking that they may have known how valuable it was. She knew how valuable it was, and so that was one theory, that there's some connection to her. The other theory, like I said, is it could be Nick Fury, who, remember, kind of made this deal. Remember, back in the Age of Ultron, when they went to hide out at Clint Barton's ranch house in the middle of nowhere, he said, "How did I never know about this?" It's like, well, I made a deal with Fury that I'd work for Shield, but he can't involve my family or anything. So, and remember, not only that, but there was notes of Clint's family next to the watch. I think there's a possibility, and I think this is just speculation, obviously. The next episode is going to reintroduce Nick Fury back into the fold. The last time we saw him, he was a Skrull on Earth at the end of, I think it was, I don't remember which one it was now. It's
Same, but that leads me to the other question that I've been asking for a very long time is, when did Nick Fury leave Earth to run the Sword program? How long has the Nick Fury here been a Skrull?
That's a good point. I'd say, I mean, if I had to take a guess, I almost feel like it would have possibly been toward Endgame or this whole time. Maybe that's going to be one of the big things that leads into the Invasion series, that Nick Fury has not been present. So this friendship, this partnership that they've had has been with a Skrull all this time. And that's going to cause a trust issue within the remaining members or the new members of the Avengers.
Speaking about friends at S.H.I.E.L.D., like Nick Fury, Kate coming over to Hawkeye's place, which is not his place, it's currently where he's staying, it is at Kate's aunt's house, which in the comics was an actress, by the way.
Yeah. I really like the fact that they tied in a little bit of these personal themes. But actually, one of the things I thought was really nice is the comparison that, like, Kate just really realized Clint is staying in New York for her, that he's there to kind of keep her safe, and because of that, she's kind of the reason why he's not with his family. In a sense, I feel it makes her feel guilty, especially since there was a scene right before that where she kind of at least had a little bit of joy, like just seeing her mom happy.
In the midst of the whole conversation, or the little tiny celebration of them decorating a tree and him being able to teach her how to knock out a person with a tiny little ornament button.
That was awesome.
We get a really in-depth, heartbreaking, I heard people on the feed on Twitter and stuff, like people were crying, and it was a really heartfelt moment to see how much devastation Hawkeye has actually gone through, especially when he stated the fact that the best shot he ever took was the one he didn't take, which is actually what saved Natasha Romanoff and introduced him to basically his, like...
I think that for Jeremy Renner as an actor really actually did amazing with that scene. It really, I mean, even me watching it, I'm looking for facts, just like you. I'm looking for the Easter eggs that they're throwing in here. But just even during that, like, small bit of time, I really stopped and, like, was like, wow, I know this is not real, but this is real. This is PTSD for him. I mean, he said it by accident, almost like instinctively, like, what's your favorite arrow? What was your favorite shot? And then, it's the one I didn't take. And then it just goes into, like, him trying to be so defensive, like, I don't want to talk about it. And then eventually he regretted that. He's like, I got it. On a level, I feel like it's healthy. Like, he wanted to tell someone. Like, he feels this way. Like,
it's almost like he's going through a bunch of healing in this series.
Well, yeah. I think that he since Endgame, he's kind of felt this guilt of it should have been me. It should have been me. I've done much worse stuff than she has. She was the best of us, and now she's gone. So he's riddled with guilt. And
I love the fact that in the midst of him explaining and basically pouring out his heart to Kate Bishop when she's learning that what happened to Nat and what happened to that, the realization of him being Ronin, is that in the background is they use the same exact song as Endgame, which really hit home differently in that scene. That you're listening to Clint Burton discussing about basically all this PTSD, and like you said, he's basically just finally kind of pouring it out to someone else, and he almost needed to. And in the background is the soundtrack of Endgame from the exact scene where we lost our Black Widow of Natasha Romanoff.
Yeah, that I noticed that too, and I thought that was great to add that in to put that score in. Also, like as a small like little bit to that scene too. I don't know if it was in a scene there or maybe it might have been slightly before it, but they put on It's a Wonderful Life on the TV, and it's almost kind of paralleling like the reality they're in. Like he could be home with his family and his best, have his best friends and like, be happy and be with his family. And instead he's chosen this life that is completely different than that, what he, I guess, would look at in terms of a wonderful life. So I feel like there was just so many little bits that they added to that scene to just tie in all the themes for this episode. I was really impressed. I think out of all the episodes so far, this has to be probably one of my favorites. So actually, speaking of Natasha and Black Widow, I was actually very intrigued to see Natasha. I'm sorry, not Natasha. Yelena in this episode, and I just was like, I put it together like almost right when she was unmasked. But I'm very happy that now they're connecting the dots. That most of these shows, she was first, I believe, she was in the Black Widow movie, as well as the end credit scene for that movie, where she was given Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye, Clint Barton, as her target, without really any explanation, just kind of like that teaser that she would end up possibly fighting him at some point in the future. I thought they may just keep it into like the movie universe, but they definitely added her into a great scene. And I'm hoping that this is not the last we've seen of her, because she kind of at the end just kind of like free falls off the building, and that's the last time you see her. And hopefully, I think there's only 2 episodes left of the Hawkeye series, so hopefully there's
that's a crazy realization you're right. There's only 2 episodes.
Yeah, this is 6 episodes
left.
Oh yeah, this is not like WandaVision where every episode was like a big theme, a different theme. But this one is the shortest, I think, of all the series, and it's I think the last one confirmed to be complete in terms of shows until like the next set of movies come out. So we have, after this, we have No Way Home. That's going to be coming out. We have next week, Doctor Strange and then Multiverse of Madness coming out. We have a couple of other things that are down the line next year.
And of course, we got to give it up to our larpers. Larpers around the world must be ecstatic seeing that they are getting some spotlight in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. LARPers, and it turns out that it's a bunch of first responders. It's firefighters, it's ambulance drivers and police officers. Grills makes his appearance again in this episode, helping them out retrieve Hawkeye's trick arrows, as they call them.
Yes, which I thought that scene was really great. I love the fact that they're getting ready to introduce Kate Bishop and Hawkeye's uniforms, or their costumes possibly, because they kind of like they hinted toward it. They're like, can you make 2, I'll give you materials for 2 more, or more than you need, because that was the deal I think she made, was like, we're going to give you all new like gear to bring to your LARPing community. And this was like the extras. Oh, well, actually, I can give you materials just for 2 more. And it kind of was like, all right, like if you blink and you miss it, it was like pass.
Now, does that mean that Kate Bishop and Clint Barton are going to be the ultimate cosplayers? Because they just asked LARPers to make them their suits. So is this really their superhero suits, or are they superheroes now cosplaying?
Well, I mean, they're definitely cosplayers getting coffee, maybe. But I really like the fact that they introduced a lot of LARPers. They didn't really make them seem... They didn't play in, I guess, like the stereotypes that surround larpers sometimes. I like the fact that actually, and I used to, when I was in college, I used to hang around the theater department, and there were people who took acting classes, and they took people who were also used weapons, like learn how to fight with fight choreography, and that is kind of what they do. So in a sense, it's not. It is a really cool skill. It's really cool. It's you see actors on screen, actors playing all the time. This is kind of a little bit like it's unorganized, obviously, but or it is organized. Actually, it is organized.
It is organized.
Yeah.
They have a whole organization. The NY what is it? The NYC Larpers.
NYC
they have
Larpers.
A whole association.
I don't know what they call them, first responders, but like you said, like everyone, it's an absolute great opportunity to see people really support the community. It's really nice to see that. One of the things I kind of wanted to mention is how I think that this season is going to end. And I think, and I'm a little skeptical about how this will end. One thing I've noticed is every episode, Hawkeye has been getting beat up worse and worse every single time.
I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, and I hope it's not what I think.
So I have two big theories. One is that they could be getting him ready to be just done with the part. I'm not. No.
Oh no! You're gonna make me cry right now in public. No! Not another Avenger. No! God, no!
No, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. I don't think they wouldn't do that to especially with a show of all around the Christmas time, and it could be something very bad. But I think he might be out of commission. I think this might be Marvel's way of retiring the character and introducing Haley Steinfeld as the new Hawkeye or Hawkeye 2.0 or C.
Like fully taking over the mantle.
Right, and I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. They are making it seem like, they keep building this suspense of, I'm going to make it home for Christmas. I'm going to make it home for Christmas. And I think the idea is to put in your head that he may not make it home for Christmas because something serious has happened to him. And I feel like that might be a MacGuffin. I think that is completely what they want you to think. I think that he will get home, or maybe the family's going to come see him. Like he's going to be so injured in the hospital or something like that, and his whole family is going to be seeing him. I think that's my prediction if things go wrong. The other way is that he comes home and it's like Christmas morning and he's there and he's completely like beat up in the Santa suit or something, or his new suit or something like that, and he's just sitting in his chair and all the kids come in. That's how they kind of end it. But I think I'm leaning toward how my first theory is that every episode, he used like a bag of peas in one episode, or a bag of, then Kate Bishop even like at one point she had like a frozen pizza on her head and she was like trying to thaw out the pizza and stuff like that. And then later, now we're at this point where he's taking like, I don't know, blended juice or blended like, ices and putting them around like all his joints, which if someone who works out and you who trains people as well, people feel it in their knees, in their arms, and their shoulders. So I feel like it's a very subtle thing they're doing, but every episode he seems to need more and more, and I just feel like that's going to go somewhere. Like he's essentially going to be at a point where it looks like he's on the verge of death. And I don't think they would kill him, especially with a Christmas show, especially at this point. But I do think that they are probably going to be at a point where he says, I've seen your skills. I think you're good enough. And then like kind of just put her in contact with the people who are Shield. Or, maybe just give her his someone's like pager, just like they kind of did with like Captain Marvel, not like a pager, but like a phone number, like call this number if you ever need anything, or if you ever need a helping hand or something like that. And then it's going to basically get her to become the new Hawkeye for the MCU. I think Jeremy Renner as like he honestly, I read this the other day. They said he doesn't look happy to be in the show. Like he did. Like there's just this like expression on his face, like, "Am I done yet? Have you paid me? Can I?" And I don't think that's true. I know that that's like his demeanor.
I think it's just literally the character of Hawkeye. Like he is really done.
Yeah.
Like Clint Barton, not Jeremy Renner, but Clint Barton is the one that's like you said, he is the one he's done. He is so done.
He's like, I've been doing this too long. I've lost too many people. Yep.
He's lost his hearing. He literally sacrificed his hearing from all of the battles that he's been through.
I think it ties in really perfectly with what the theme of the show is. It's all about like family. It's all about keeping everyone together. I think that there's so many small hints that lead me to this theory because one, he knows that his family has been exposed because of the information that Maya had on him. Two, they already set up someone who's either just as good or has the potential to be good or better than Clint as an archer. And I think those things will lead to him being like, you know what? I kind of want to stay home and I want to like keep watch over my family, almost as a way of like guaranteeing his family will be safe and that he's going to choose his family from now on over the mission. I'm sure like there will be times in the future at some point they'll bring him back for a movie or so if that's the case. But I really think that this series is sort of saying a goodbye to the character unless they choose to go with a season 2. Which I doubt that would be the case, but if they do choose to do it, they could.
I mean, adding more to that point is you really are onto something with they're possibly leading into Clint Barton's retirement and him literally just giving Kate Bishop the blessing, like, here, you are the new Hawkeye, go out there and be a new Avenger and whatever, with disregarding basically what the mother told him. And it is possible that they're actually doing a lot of other introductions utilizing this series. Like, Kate Bishop is going to be the new Hawkeye, and it may be possible that Maya will actually take over the mantle of Ronin, like in the comics, because in the comics, she was actually the first Ronin, and may just go full circle as her taking the mantle of Ronin, and Yelena as finally taking the mantle of the new Black Widow. So... fair point, man. Fair point.
Yeah, and I think that it could even go, it even may, this is just something I thought about now, but Madam Hydra, who is behind all of this, I think her name in the show is Valentina. I'm not 100% on that. But, she's still unknown to everyone, that she may be the reason, she might be instigating all of this. Even in partnership with Kingpin if they introduce him as well. So she might be in league, because remember, Yelena at the end of Black Widow, she was recruited, and she doesn't know who this character is. Everyone else does. We know as the fans, which means that she might be recruited into a bit of like a black ops, kind of working for the wrong team kind of situation. And at some point, they'll have to face off against, the old Avengers. So it'll be like the new Avengers versus the old Avengers. And eventually, everything gets exposed and blah, 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 blah. But, they eventually come to terms and know that, like, okay, we were wrong. We did the wrong thing here. And we're actually working for the right people now. So that's why I'm thinking that if that was the route they go to, it's pretty obvious. Yelena has still no idea that.
I mean, she knows who Clint Barton is, as far as an Avenger and his close ties to Nat, I'm sure, but I don't think much. Like, she doesn't know the full story, obviously.
No, I mean, I'm kind of feeling like the final episode is going to be a bit of like a Die Hard kind of feeling to it, where they're fighting the villain in the top floor of the building, and explosions galore, and Hawkeye is, and Kate jumping off the side of a building, shooting a plunger arrow out of window or something
Wearing
like that.
a comic accurate suit.
Exactly.
Finally, because he's never had a real comic book accurate suit yet. And thanks to us cosplayers and LARPers, he will actually be cosplaying his actual suit.
Yeah.
Hopefully we see Clint going back to his family by Christmas, because clearly every episode has been counting down the days. And episode 4 stated that we have 3 days left before Christmas.
Yep, and I think there's only 2 days or 2 episodes left. So one of them obviously will be, Double Day. But I'm really hoping that my theory does not necessarily come true, and I hope that Clint Barton, a.k.a. Hawkeye, a.k.a. Jeremy Renner, does stay in the role of Hawkeye, and he can really just be a mentor. Maybe not have may not have any screen time or as much screen time.
As always, superfans, don't forget to smash the subscribe button, turn on notifications, give us a like, and hit up a follow at Flash Fanatic on Instagram.
And Superheroes Ultimate.
And of course, if you want to show us some support for the channel and get some official merch, which includes t-shirts, tank tops, mugs, totes, stickers, face masks, and so much more. So if you want to check out some of our latest official merch, take a look right below the video. Or some cool collectibles, I placed all the links in the description below. Until next, superfans!
Over and out.